All right. Well, it's been a minute, and we'll start with this thing, which has been giving me a headache as well as pretty much everything else recently. The reason I haven't been very active. So I'll kind of go over the El Camino and what's going on here. I'm going to make another video on the Corvette and then another one with the shop because there's been a lot done, obviously, since the last update. But this thing has been giving me every problem under the sun that your mom and uncle can throw at me. The 4.8 that blew up into this, I will go over kind of what happened. And that is right there. And that LH6 that I put in there is right there. And this is an LM753. Why is this here and that in there? Well, I was sick and tired of trying to figure out why cylinder number 1 was not building compression on an engine that was supposed to be good. And I think I know exactly why, and we'll verify it here once we rebuild it. Everything's fine in the engine, so I think I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. But I was just getting ready to just slap a motor that was known to be good. And my luck is this thing won't start. Something else will happen. But this is supposed to be a good engine from a good guy that I know. So it was pulled from a Suburban, had 170,000 miles on it, which is less than what that had on it and much less than what that 4.8 had on it. And it was like, we're just going to slap this thing in here, get it working, and just plug it in and just send it on its way. So what was going on was obviously that engine blew up. And the reason the engine blew up was not only did I find that the O-ring shrunk on it. Remember, this isn't a Chinese F-body oil pan and Chinese pickup tube. And that's the key right there, a Chinese pickup tube. That is a Chinese oil pan and a GM pickup tube. And melling pump and melling O-ring. This had the same O-ring that was on the pickup tube on a stock pump. Well, what happened was after the winter as it was stored, the O-ring shrunk. And not only did it shrink, but it started to come apart. So obviously it's not held up to be, with anything petroleum based, fuel, oil, whatever. Because when I went to disconnect the pickup tube, obviously you guys know what the pickup tube is, but I'll use this to explain as well. So obviously this piece disintegrated or was starting to disintegrate and shrink, and it just fell right off. So this is what, there's a 10 millimeter bolt that gets bolted to the oil pump, and then this gets bolted to the crank or where the windage tray would be, like the bolts or the nuts are. So that shrunk, but not only that, I noticed that when I went to put the oil pan back on this engine, I could not get the oil pan to sit flat. And I don't remember that happening on the other ones. So I'm guessing it was just so tight. This is actually too long, and what was doing was this was bottoming out in the oil pan. So not only did I have an issue here, I had an issue here, and it was bottoming out right in the oil pan. So that was probably the reason why I dropped oil pressure when this thing warmed up, because with that LH6, when you started it cold, you'd have 40 pounds of oil pressure. As it got up to operating temperature and full temp, it'd be down to about 10. So between the Gen 4 and that, I'm pretty sure that was an issue. So what I did was, on the pickup tube, that the Chinese F-body one, I basically just cut a little section out about, I don't know, an eighth of an inch or so, maybe a little bit more. Brought it down, re-welded it, put it back up. Pan fit fine. So we should have a little bit of a gap. And not only that, but the screen, sorry, I keep going back and forth. The screen here actually took a dead blow and smacked it up just a little bit. And it actually just kind of did a little U-shape here. I looked underneath the screen, there's still air. So it brought the screen up just a little bit too. So guys, if you're running an F-body oil pan and the Chinese F-body oil pan and the Chinese pickup tube, beware that might be a possibility. Going forward, I'm probably still going to use the F-body oil pans or the Chinese F-body oil pans, because they're casted. I mean, they're pretty much just from what I can tell, they are a direct copy. So I will just get the GM pickup tube with it. I'll try to find the pan by itself. You can still get them for about $70. And I think the GM pickup tube is like $40, $40, something like that. So then you get obviously melling pump or just a melling O-ring and be done with it. So that was the issue with the 4.8 probably blowing up. Then this had a cylinder low in compression. All these were about 150 to 165. This here was like 45 to 50. Well, when I went to empty the oil, it had a little bit of coolant in it. So I'm guessing there was a head gasket issue. And yes, I put head gaskets on. So this is a Gen 4 block, and I had notched heads, and I used the composite head gaskets. I've known that's the way you do it. So I'm guessing I just didn't either tighten the bolts down, because, I reused them, all that fun stuff, your typical sloppy build. And I don't think it sealed very well. So this is when this gets rebuilt. It's getting the same notched heads, because they're in really good shape, and they seal. I had checked that too. All the valves seal up great, and they're straight. So I'm going to get the MLS with the notched gasket portion that are up here. So they seal, and then I'm going to get new head bolts and torque this thing down. This is going to get rebuilt completely. So it's going to gone through. Everything that's good is going to stay, and anything that I should replace, like oil pump, just small gaskets here and there, is going to get rebuilt, tested. It's going to have a turnkey set up for like a P59 drive-by-wire, wiring harness, everything. And then I'm just going to get rid of this, because I have so much shit in my garage that I need to clean up. And I'm just like, we're going to have a yard sale and get rid of this stuff. So that's the update in here. The intake's just sitting on here. Everything under the car, other than the tailpipes, are done. And so I'm going to start getting all this back together, get everything plugged in, verify that everything's fine, get it started, get it driven. Once it drives, we're going to pull it back in. I'm going to jack up the back. I must have something on the screen, so sorry about all that smudge. Hold on. Let's try that. Much better. What we'll do is we'll jack up the back, and then I got to put the tailpipes on. They're going to be like V-banded connections just to go out the back, and then I'm going to leave them there for my father-in-law to put whatever he wants on for the actual tips or whatever. So that is that, and the update with this. I'm hoping it runs. I'm hoping it drives. It's got new spark plugs. Everything looked clean inside. It didn't take the heads off. I just kind of, the valley covers these things. My brain is fried. Valley cover did come off. The valve covers. Thank you. Sorry, my brain is fried right now. Did come off. Everything looked clean. It looks like it's really well maintained. So, like I said, I just put new spark plugs in it, and we're just going to send it the way it is. We're going to put a little bit of ATF in the oil. I actually have some up there. It's already full of oil, so we're going to put a little bit of ATF in there and get that run through, and I'm going to have him change it, probably in the next month or two after he drives it. And then the other thing was, this still has the TH250 transmission in it. It has the little cobbled up. I can show pictures, but I really don't want to go to the car right now again, because it's already dropped down. It has a little cobbled up, like C2 Corvette 90-degree Speedo cable thing. That these things, they're an actual cable that runs basically from the transmission to the back of the speedometer, and it just spins, obviously, and that's what your Speedo is. It's not digital. And in between there is a Dakota Digital, basically little signal generator that'll generate like an 8K pulse signal. Not great. It's cheap, but it at least tells the computer that it's moving. I don't care that the computer knows what speed it's going, because it's got a non-electronic transmission. It doesn't need to worry about shift points, any of that. It just needs to go, hey, we're moving, hey, we're not moving. Because what that does is, when you're coming up to like a stop sign or a stoplight, it'll keep it from dying, because obviously it constantly will think it's in park, not moving. And when you go to drive it, it drives fine, obviously. It doesn't have a lot of power, because it's in basically it's considered like a parking VE table and all that stuff. But once it sees it's moving, then it knows, hey, we're going along. It can see 1 mile an hour, 2 mile an hour, whatever. And then the moment it goes back to zero, it knows to idle up the vehicle, keep it from stalling, and it just makes the drivability a lot better. So we got to wire everything. Everything's wired. I have to plug everything in. Everything, I know where it needs to go. So we'll do that with the accessories back on, get the coolant filled back up. And then I got to top off the transmission fluid, because when I had the car up like this, when I went to seal up the back of that mechanical throttle, little gear that's inside, it decided to puke all the ATF out, which is fine, because I mean, it's original ATF with a mix of new stuff. It could use some good ATF in it. It only had 41,000 on it, so it wasn't like the transmission was beat to hell. Plus, the motor that was in here only made like 165 horsepower, so it wasn't like it was really getting its ass kicked. So we'll do that, and then we'll get this thing on the road, get that everything else done, and then this is going back to my father-in-law, and we can be done with it. This thing is going to get some love towards the end of the summer. What I need to do is cut those bars out. This is going to be a separate video, but just quick recap for anybody that cares. Those bars are going to get cut and then get welded for the swing out bars and get that stuff done. So I can say, hey, the cage is done. I can find a time to get it certified whenever that is. And then I'm going to move the fuel pressure regulator somewhere else. The expansion tank has got to go somewhere else. Clean that up so I can get that all boxed in together like that is over there. And then I'll worry about the rest of the details. And then I'm just going to go over kind of like what I done in the shop. I'm still working on it. As you can see, I put another shelf up. I got to get all that stuff done and I got that there, and then go all the way up to the rest of the ceiling and add more shelving and organize it. So that's the update. Sorry, it's been a long time. Been doing a lot of housework and a lot of kids' activities, and I'm trying to catch up here. So hopefully this will kind of get you an idea of kind of what's going on. So later.